Kansas City to rally for Brent Welder. We're going to flip this seat red in November.
In news from the smartest woman in the world, and it's not even debatable. Isn't that right, Carlos? Got you on that one. The rise of NYC's anti-billionaire crusade. AOC throws her support behind tax on New York's richest residents that critics fear will drive them out of the state. Rep. Cortez signaled her support for a tax on New York's billionaires in a Twitter video on Thursday. Addressing Governor Cuomo, she said, "It's time to stop protecting billionaires, and it's time to start working for working families." Proponents of the tax want to use the proceeds to create an emergency worker bailout fund for poor and undocumented New Yorkers, and there it is. But critics say it could lead New York's wealthiest people to leave the state. Undocumented New Yorkers. Isn't there a word for that? Didn't there used to be a word for that? To borrow from good old J.K. Rowling? Let's read a little bit of this and hear what the genius has to say. Calls for a massive tax on New York's billionaires are picking up steam after firebrand freshman Rep. Cortez threw her weight behind the cause. A small group of protesters took to Manhattan streets on Friday to demand that Governor Cuomo pass a bill that aims to boost taxes on millionaires to create an emergency worker bailout fund for poor and undocumented New Yorkers. Undocumented. I'm still trying to think of that word. It started with an I, ended with an S. The protest, albeit small, was fueled by an endorsement from Cortez, who expressed support for the Fund Excluded Workers Coalition on Thursday in a video calling out Cuomo, the FEWC. Governor Cuomo, we need you to pass a billionaire's tax in order to make sure that we're providing for our working families. Cortez, a Democrat who represents parts of the Bronx and Queens, said in a video, "It's time to stop protecting billionaires. It's time to start working for working families. Take from them, give to us." Look at her. And Cortez, it's like I always say, don't be out there trying to act like you're for those minorities and those undocumented people, because you know that I'm your type. Just check out who she's with right now. She doesn't really hate me. She doesn't hate people like me. She loves me. We gotta have some fun with it. Cortez ramping up her crusade on billionaires by backing a tax on New York's richest residents that critics fear could drive them out of the state. Make billionaires pay. And that's a pretty nice sign there. I think that if we get this thing wet here, if we lay this down on a grassy patch and we get this thing wet, we can make this into a nice slip and slide. A small group of protesters took the Manhattan streets. Okay, there's the video. Cortez, one of the most outspoken progressives in Congress, has trumpeted the need for higher taxes on the super rich since she entered the political fray in 2019. Calls to do so have only heightened during the pandemic, as the nation's wealthiest people have seen their net worth balloon while tens of millions of Americans were laid off. And this is something I wanted to touch on real quick too. If you're somebody out there who has some means, nobody's obviously going to be super wealthy. Someday it'd be great to be a millionaire, wouldn't it? Even if the missus and I ever hit that level or two. It's not like I'm ever going to have billionaire status. I mean, come on now. Billionaire status, that's something that I don't even think about. I'm just out here grinding day to day, trying to make my money go up just a little bit. When the stock market crashed, when the CV first kind of became problematic or was seen as problematic, and the stock market cratered, what did it go down? They say 40%, some said. Hopefully, those of you who have 401ks, IRAs, personal savings with brokerage accounts invested, hopefully you individuals were able to pull your money out and you didn't have to see that 40% hit on your funds. Now, granted, the NASDAQ is above where it was before the crash began, and I didn't look at the date where it started and kind of where it hit the bottom, but hopefully you individuals were able to get your money out of there and not have to write it all the way down. But it has gone back up, the NASDAQ. It's above where it was before the crash happened. The S&P, not sure about that one, but the Dow is roughly a couple points below where it was. It was trading around 29, 30,000 at that time. I think it's around 26 or 27 right now. So by and large, the stock market's recovered. But you've seen a lot of individual winners and losers in this. A lot of industries have lost big time. Cruise lines, hotels, airlines, but others have won. Digital media platforms that enable individuals to work from home. Zoom Media comes to mind. I'm sure there's a bunch of others. Drug manufacturers that are moving towards a vaccination. Those come to mind. And I'm sure there's many other industries that have managed to find a way to win in this. Clorox was one. So companies that assist in helping keep everybody safe and healthy or giving everybody that feeling of safety. Those stocks have gone up. So it's been kind of like overall the broader markets are back where they were, but there's surely been this huge difference of winners and losers. So from that perspective, what I'm getting at is hopefully you didn't have to ride this thing all the way down. If you did and you saw it ride back up and didn't pull out, then good for you. I mean, you dodged a big time bullet there, but if you were able to pull out and avoid some of that loss, and in essence get a free 10, 15% on your money, that's a situation I was able to do. I was able to pull all the money out and put it into cash right before the market crashed. And that was just pure luck. I've said it before, just pure luck, just a feeling I had. And I saved about 20% downside on that. I didn't get right back in when it hit its bottom. As it started to recover and had already gone up about 10 or 15%, then that's when I felt safe and kind of put the money back in an index mutual fund and some individual stocks and saw some gains on those. So I get it from that perspective. And hopefully, like I said, a lot of you were able to get something out of this. Hopefully some of you were able to turn this thing into a positive, at least economically with your investments. But I do get that point though. The rich don't ever suffer as much, I would say, percentage-wise, when you have huge downturns because they have the insider connection, so they'll know when to pull out. They'll have the best brokers out there telling them when to pull out, where to put their money for safety, when to jump back in. So that does create a huge wealth disparity, and I get that. But I'm never going to fault somebody for being smarter than other people, for having more money than other people. I can't fault somebody for achievement. And that's something that I hope that we all strive for, is that we see these individuals out there making money hand over fist, and we're like, hey, how can I get my own slice of the pie? And I hope that for all of you. And when we have another downturn, which we will, these things seem to come around every 10 years. Although this kind of recession, nobody could have seen the reason why. But I hope the next time we have one of these, you're well positioned to take advantage of fluctuations in the market. All right, we'll stop that. I've talked a little bit about that. We'll stop reading here. Let's look through some of these pictures here. Bailout workers, not billionaires. Yeah, I don't know that billionaires are getting bailouts, unless you're talking about companies, which again trickles down to the employees. But don't tell her that. Anybody wearing a Bernie shirt, probably not too smart to begin with. Tax the billionaires, fund the workers, take their stuff, give it to us. Yeah, we know. Eat the rich, as they say, right? No, there's Cuomo, no word yet on how many people exactly he killed by sending sick people into old folks' homes. Still waiting for that shoe to drop. That was the end of the article, not too long. Let's see here. All people want is for billionaires not to be freeloaders and pay their fair share. Okay, I'm sure they're freeloaders. Cuomo's such a wimp, he knows it's a terrible idea. As he tries to kick it to the federal level, AOC is a POS. A freaking bartender is running our country. What the hell's happening? Well, you wanted people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and she has. Now you complain, LOL. Thought you guys believed in the American dream while you're looking at it. Her days are numbered. And somebody says the idiots will continue to vote for her, which is true. They voted her overwhelmingly in the primary, and she should have no problem winning in November. Now, I've touched on the financial side individually, personally for us, right? But let me touch real quick on state implications, potentially. Just real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. This video is getting too long, but there's a balance between what you can do, right? Because other states, how Delaware is able to attract a lot of corporations to incorporate there due to the favorable tax status they give to business. Other states are different in terms of taxes which they charge their residents as well. So if you have a situation where all of a sudden Cuomo was like, okay, well, in AOC's world, all of a sudden Cuomo would just snap his fingers like that and $10 billion would fall from the sky for her to pocket, for her to give to her boyfriend in some way. She'd find a way. Same thing with Omar. And she'd throw a little bit down to those poor black and brown people, those POCs and those illegals. There it is. I got the word. She'd, give them a little something, sprinkle a little money there, and then she can just make it rain in the streets, right? And she could just be out there like this, like she's the goddess, like she's the hero. And they would chant, AOC, AOC, AOC. That's what she goes to bed at night thinking, most likely, that this somehow is getting her goddess status. And in her district, she seems like she already has it, but the reality is that he can't just snap his fingers like that. And competing states, with their different tax laws, they would be able to attract these individuals to take up residence in their state. That's just how it is. You can't overdo it. I get that you may want to push a little bit and see how much money you can squeeze out of it, but you can't overdo it. And with all the stuff going on in New York right now, I think you got to be really cautious in terms of how much blood exactly you try to squeeze out of that stone. But that's all I got, everybody. As always, I hope you're all doing well. I hope financially, as I said, and as I'll continue to say, that you're doing well, that you don't need these kind of stimuluses and things like that, that you're in a good position. And as we go forward, that each time we have one of these downturns or recessions, or whatever causes these downturns, stock market specifically, housing sometimes, right? Not so much this time because you've seen the housing markets kind of continue to rise, but that you're each time better able to put yourself in a better and better position to do well when things go down, that you can get back in as things start to rise. And I wasn't in position to take advantage of the tech bubble that popped. I was still young, didn't have much money at that time. Better positioned during the last recession that we had, 2009, 10, 11. Better position that time, and now better position this time. Should there be a downturn in the housing market? We've already seen that downturn in the stock market, which I talked about earlier in the video. Just putting yourself in better and better position as you age to where you can help create a better situation for yourself and loved ones when things are going bad, as they start to pick up again, that you're in a better position to do well in that situation. And that's what I hope for all of you. Get it for yourself. Make sure you're out there fighting for it for yourself. Don't depend on the government. Don't depend on billionaires. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care and be well.